this is Nisha Rawal and welcome to a new episode of the Motherhood Chronicles. Well, before I became a mom, the only chronicles I knew were the Chronicles of Narnia. I mean, seriously, motherhood is such a huge roller coaster of so many emotions. It's probably the only thing I know that covers all aspects of human emotions. Anger, frustration, tears, joy. As though that wasn't enough, there is a sub-chronology to it, balancing your work and family. A really beautiful connection that I established beside my baby was with fellow moms. Thanks to social media, now staying connected isn't that tough. That's why I put together this show, the Motherhood Chronicles, with the sole purpose of sharing my experiences, my struggles and confusions. Hopefully, it'll help you find the answers that you're looking for. Another beautiful lot of humans that I met during my pregnancy and motherhood journey are the experts who helped me physically, emotionally and mentally. Some of them will feature on the panel of the Motherhood Chronicles. This show is not just for women, but also men, single parent and LGBTQ couples. Here we bust myths, discuss facts and try to change the world one episode at a time. So let's start with the most hectic, emotional yet loving topic of being a woman, a mother. Today's topic is mental health. Today I have a really awesome panel combination with me. A mom who has been through a mental health issue, a psychiatrist who deals with so many women and children, and a teenage girl who's formed a mental health company dedicated to its cause. My first panelist is Dr. Kersi Chawda, a practicing psychiatrist and a consultant at Hinduja National Hospital, Mumbai, with 35 years of experience. He's presented many papers at various national forums on issues dealing with mental health and organized many seminars and workshops. He's the ex-chairperson of the task force of the Indian Psychiatric Society dealing with school psychiatry and counseling, the LGBTQ community, where he managed to issue a position statement that was quoted in the repealed Section 377. He's also worked on the clinical guidelines for the treatment of autism spectrum disorder. My second panelist is Amita Pathak Satchar. Born to a film family, she always had movies on her mind. She loved camera and debuted in 2007 as the lead actress in movie Hale Dil and did multiple films like Akrosh, Taur Mitradi, Bittu Boss, Ek Tha Hero. She produced a film, Atithi Tum Kab Jaoge, casting Ajay Devgan, Paresh Rawal and Konkana Sen Sharma. Today, married to Raghav Satchar and mommy of 2 boys, she has set her foot into the influencers world. She's a mommy, a wife, an actor-producer. Amita Pathak Satchar. My third panelist is Bhavika Mehta, 19 years of age, currently pursuing her BA from Delhi University. Founder of The Happy Company, her brainchild that started in June 2018 with the aim of creating a world that was happier and more accepting. They implement their aim by providing empathizers on their Instagram page who are available to talk and help anyone who might need assistance, and that too free of cost. Today, after almost 2 years, they have 70 volunteers who've talked to over 2,000 people from all over the world. Firstly, mentally unhealthy does not mean you are mad. Mental health is our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Our cultural understanding on mental health is that we are not trying hard enough. But we don't say that about diseases like cancer or heart health. We also believe that it is something that can be self-corrected. The factors that contribute to mental health are family history or genetics, life experiences such as trauma or abuse. It affects how we think, feel, act, respond to others, handle stressful situations, and make our choices. According to World Health Organization, by 2020, depression will be the second largest disease in the world. So Dr. Kersi, could you please tell us what is the difference between mental health and mental illness?
Okay, so when we are looking at it, there are a variety of perspectives that we take into consideration. We consider a person to be mentally well if he's able to kind of comprehend whatever you're asking him.
Okay.
If his answers seem to be appropriate. If he's not irrelevant, he should be able to emote appropriately. So for example, if you see somebody having a heart attack, it shouldn't be that, oh, it's okay, you're having a heart. All of us get angry, all of us get upset, all of us get frustrated. It's how we cope with our anger and our frustration that is also very important.
Right.
We shouldn't be breaking things, we shouldn't be throwing things, we shouldn't be hitting anybody. And if a person more or less falls in the mid-range of all of these, then we consider to be fairly good.
Okay.
We are not a piece of wood or a piece of stone. It would be stupid and inappropriate for us to believe that you should always, be like a cold fish, and that's not what we are looking at. You're supposed to emote. But if it comes in the way of your normal social, emotional, your professional life, then certainly there's something that is inappropriate over here. As a corollary to that, if you're looking at mental illness, so then we are looking at a person who's doing way beyond what he should be doing, reacting way beyond what he should be doing, and occasionally getting things like he's hearing sounds which aren't there, he's seeing things which are not really there in existence. He believes that people are looking at him inappropriately. If you're looking at mental illnesses, they are illnesses. So it's not that, they're just a figment of imagination, or you get up one day saying, let me be anxious today.
Would you like to also define what is postpartum depression, which is very much ignored?
Just across the spectrum, genetics plays an extremely important role. Depression anyway is one of the commonest problems that we face, something like up to about 20-25%, which means there are 4 of us over here, and I am not depressed, and you are not depressed, and you are not depressed, that means you are depressed. It's like that.
You mean 1:4?
1:4. So it has the usual issues, but considering it's postpartum, we'd probably look at it in terms of that it has to start within about a week or 10 days after pregnancy. But we sometimes see it goes on for about 4 to 6 months. Now, postpartum depression is different from postpartum psychosis. Psychosis is a much stronger, more difficult thing to deal with, where you're actually seeing things and hearing things which are not normal.
An extreme case.
Extreme case. And when you're looking at depression, we are looking at it in terms of you're feeling very sad, you feel you can't bond with the person, there's no connection that you can experience, you start feeling suicidal on occasion, you cry, you feel absolutely overwhelmed, you feel you can't cope. Very often there is a pre-existing depression or some kind of stuff that has happened even before. Labor was too prolonged, pregnancy was too difficult. There were too many stressors on the mother as she was...
Even breastfeeding can really take a toll.
Breastfeeding can take a toll. Now, the surprising thing is, there's actually a correlation. People who have postpartum depression very often find lactation very difficult. So there seems to be a connection even in terms of, oxytocin, which is one of the main hormones that we use.
So what are the symptoms and how does one overpower this issue? Can psychiatric medicines be given during lactation and pregnancy?
And here I want to make this very, very important comment. It should be given during lactation and in pregnancy. Of course, we can't give every medicine. All the latest research has pointed to the fact that a mother who's happy and taking psychiatric medication and either pregnant at that time or lactating at that time is more likely to deliver a normal, happy, well-adjusted baby, rather than somebody who goes around saying, oh, I can't take medication, and cries through her 9 months and is, has severe mood swings and so on. So it is imperative that you go to a qualified psychiatrist who will then tell you what medications should be taken, what should not be taken. Extremely important issues over here, and I'm so glad you brought that up.
Absolutely, and in fact, it is the other way around. We feel that if we take those medications, like generally, then it'll probably affect the baby.
And here I'm saying we are not nitwits. Yes, we do have side effects, but the research points to the fact that under supervision, and supervision is very important, doing a psychiatrist who knows what he's doing, the percentage of people who are on medication during pregnancy, during lactation, and delivering a normal baby, a happy baby, and being happy in themselves is much, much, much more than a person who doesn't do that.
It was very, very insightful, just like in 3 questions. Hi, Bhavika. So thank you so much for coming here today, flying all the way from Delhi. And thank you, parents, for sending Bhavika here. I want to know your journey on how this idea came to you. Tell us about your company, about your experience, and how you're helping people.
I started the Happy Company back in 2018. It was just a way to empathize with people, because at my age, everybody has, some sort of issues because we are going from one phase of life to the other phase of our lives. So that is one place where all of us face some sort of hardships. So I just wanted to create a space where I could help people. So I single-handedly tried anybody who can, who wants to message on the Instagram portal can message and I'll talk to them. And then I don't know, suddenly there was an overflow of messages and I could handle alone. So I shut it down in November, and then I lost a friend to death, and that made me, restart it, reopen it. And then in April of 2019, I opened forms for volunteering. Right, so I spread it across my college and all of Delhi University, and the response for volunteering was so amazing. Around 70 students, filled the form at the first time. Moment after like 1 year, we have 700 unread forms. So there.
Congratulations on that itself is an achievement.
In the past 1 year, we have talked to over 2,000 people.
Wow, that's amazing. I like your format. I remember that we, of course, met on Instagram and you DM'd me. And I like the whole way when I was trying to know what is it that you exactly do. You said that people just have to drop in a hi, because obviously people are conscious. They're not going to say, I'm going through this disorder just on a public forum like that. And then one of your volunteers just gets in touch with them.
We don't cater to psychological disorders per se, because I am not studying psychology. I don't have a background in psychology or psychiatry. So what I provide is a place where a safe space where you can vent out. There are phases when we are going through a low phase. As you mentioned, there is mental illness and there is mental health. We are basically a support for those blue days. I am not there for a person who is, depressed. I am obviously, empathizing with them, but I would not, cater to their treatment. I would suggest them to go see a psychologist. That is my job. To, if somebody comes up to me and tells me their problems, I'll listen to them wholeheartedly. I'll help them crave their own path. I would not suggest them anything that I'm not allowed to or I shouldn't do. So if somebody is going through something and they share it with me, I ask them, are the choices that you have and what are the consequences of those choices?
You help them in the journey, you connect them and help them understand that they need medical assistance.
I tell them to channelize their emotions, figure out what they're feeling and why they're feeling what they're feeling. And then if I feel the case is very, they're actually going through something very severe, I am very upfront about that you do need to go see a doctor. And I don't know, there's a prejudice, there is stigma attached to mental health in our society.
Absolutely. That's why we are sitting here. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a panel where we need to create awareness, because awareness needs to be created in a place where there's ignorance. And we need to normalize this issue. So what is a psychologist and what is a psychiatrist?
Okay, so a psychologist is somebody who's done a BA or an MA in psychology, so it's not a doctor. A psychiatrist is a person who's done a basic MBBS and then after that has done his postgrad in psychiatry and can prescribe medication. I just want to make a couple of comments on what she said because it's so important. First of all, I think that what you're doing is fantastic. I believe that today's generation is a fantastic generation. There's just so much of positivity in your generation that we are thrilled to bits that we are actually seeing it happening. But the other thing that you said in terms of you should know your limitations, and I think that's extremely important. Too often in my field, we have people who have gone for a 3-month or a 6-month course of some kind of counseling and they call themselves counselors and they believe that they can, help somebody who has a major psychological problem. I'm so glad that you're aware of your limitations and you're very clear about the fact that you'll just talk and you'll just laugh at them and you'll help them and you'll support them. But eventually, if you see evidence of something that is serious, you're going to send to a qualified professional.
That is what I wish to create.
That is what you wish to create. And we have this actual concept which is called peer counselor or buddy counselor, where there's somebody who's with you and who kind of helps you through whatever you're going through, knows your limitations, maybe even supports and takes you to a professional. That's how it goes. So you are actually doing a wonderful concept. And if you're talking of 700 people, then I'm floored. I think that's
amazing.
That's amazing.
And also,
right now we are a team of 70 volunteers from all over the world.
All over the world?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
And all of them are under the age of 23 because I cannot guide somebody who's very old to me because I'll feel intimidated.
Wonderful.
And you just spoke about being a buddy counselor. So technically, this is something that we all should do. It's not just that we need to be aware of our own mental health status, but also of the others around us. How do you feel that we can normalize this whole mental health issue?
I think there is a very thin line between romanticization and normalization.
Yes.
Right. So normalization for me would be talking about it, but not associating you with it without getting it diagnosed. Like I shouldn't be going on and saying I'm depressed or I have anxiety attacks without getting it diagnosed.
Or I have insomnia, I couldn't sleep for last 2 nights.
Right. We use these words very casually and I think that is the romanticization part of it. Normalize seeing a doctor. Normalize talking about your mood swings. Don't normalize the idea of the word. It is something that people study for years, then come cure you. So I think you would know better about this. So that is the normalizing part. We should talk more about it and I believe we should be kind as human beings. There's so many people around us. How many people do you talk to in a day? How many people do you greet in a day? After I started the Happy Company, people I did not know or people who I wasn't in good terms with, people who did not like me as a person, started coming to me with their problems. They started finding me kind because I opened up a bit. If I talk about my lows, somebody else would also be comfortable talking about their lows.
It's the best way to open your doors to share.
Right. I think we need a little bit of kindness in our lives to, make this world a little more happy.
It's amazing. I feel so blessed to have met all 3 of you. Dr. Kersey, according to the World Health Organization, 1 in 4 children between 13 to 15 suffer from depression. Could you also talk a little bit about that and how can, as a parent, how can I shield my child from depression, anxiety or stress? And as a parent, what kind of symptoms should I look for?
Okay, so we are actually looking at psychological illnesses right from birth till you die. So if you're looking at the particular spectrum that you're talking about, the range that you're talking about up to the age of about 14, 15, 16, 17, you have issues related to the fact that you're not able to develop properly maybe, right? So there are intellectual issues, there may be developmental issues, you're not able to focus, you can't spell, you're extremely restless, you're extremely hyperactive, concentration is an issue, you have emotional outbursts, you have something called oppositional issues, where you just oppose for the sake of opposing. Now, there are a whole bunch of things that we look at, but we don't look at individual symptoms. You look at it across the spectrum. Once again, let me say over here that in the past, we would say you've not been breastfed properly as a child, your mother was a cold person, good old Freud, which is now a little bit out of what we're looking at today. Today with all
my mom tells that to me every time. Mummy, अगर आप सुन रहे हो, काविश को कुछ भी होता है तो like उसको तो तुमने 6 महीने माँ का दूध पिलाया. I'm like, give it a break, dude. 6 months is like the basic.
Yes. So today we're looking at it in terms of genetics. We're looking at it in terms of structures in the brain. We're looking at it in terms of electronic connections in the brain. And we're looking at it in terms of neurotransmitters. So technically, all of us are susceptible to some kind of psychological issue. If there's a genetic component, you're more susceptible than the others. And then if you have some kind of psychosocial stress that occurs, a death in the family, a divorce, a major bad pregnancy, a bad delivery, a financial loss, somebody being shot, some kind of calamity that happens where you lose everything, then it's not surprising that a whole bunch of people will actually topple over and you'll end up getting the psychological illnesses that we actually see and that we look at. If you're looking at kids, I think it's extremely important for parents to be aware of the fact that the younger you catch a child with a problem and the faster you initiate the treatment, the more likely it is that the kid is going to become okay. You put your head in the sand and say, no, it's not happening. No, he'll outgrow it. No, his father was like this. No, his grandfather was like this. All of that is immaterial. The kid has a problem. Seek help. Psychologists, psychiatrists, get appropriate medication if it's necessary. And there's a whole bunch of myths associated with medication, which is all nonsense. If you get all of that happening, the chances of your kid not having a continuous later adult problem is much, much higher. But if you're going to say, oh, I'm just going to wait for him to outgrow it, then that's going to be majorly problematic for the kids. The number of parents who have initially said, I won't put my kid on medication, Then after 5 years, come back and say, okay, I'm going to put him, let me try it out. And then they come back and say, I should have listened to you in the beginning. It's a sad indictment. Don't let your own biases come in the way of proper, appropriate treatment for the child. I'm certainly not saying that every kid needs medication, but I am certainly saying that if he needs medication, you're saying he doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything, right? Let's get over this thing of our own biases. And for God's sake, remember that Dr. Google is not a doctor.
And Amita, now I want to thank you again for coming here and being ready to share something that's emotional, requires a lot of guts, and so I want to congratulate you on having that power to do that. So thank you.
I think I'm already getting there now. No.
Okay, so now I want you to pour your heart out. I want you to talk about what you went through. That's what you wanted to come here and share with other fellow moms, with other fellow humans, because like tissue de do yaar.
This, I think, is just the beginning. It's just going to keep going now.
You're in the company of a lovely psychiatrist. We'll look after you.
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
But I think the first thing for healing, I always believe, is to let go, to cry it out, to talk about, to express instead of holding back, which is the biggest mistake I have done. I will talk about my mistakes later. You know, I want you to share everything. When did you realize that something was not normal? What was your partner's reaction, your family? You have 2 beautiful kids. Do you blame anybody for what happened? What was your frame of mind? Everything. Please share.
Okay, so I don't think I blame anybody. I mean, who's there to blame? You know, I believe I was in right hands, and that's the reason I was there, right? But my both pregnancies they've been beautiful, but they have had their share of, you know, ups and downs. My first pregnancy, I lost my grandfather, so, you know, I went through a lot of stress. But when I came over it and I was out of it, you are never out of it, but when you kind of make peace with it. I went through Bell's palsy attack just 10 days before my delivery. So Bell's palsy is where one side of your face is completely, I wouldn't say paralyzed. I mean, I think
If
doctor
doctor
would
could
be.
define.
Okay,
Yeah.
so basically what happens is we have a whole bunch of nerves, and one of them is the facial nerve. The facial nerve gets affected.
Yes.
And when it gets affected, you reach a situation where very often you can't close your eyes, you can't shut your lips. There's sometimes a difficulty with swallowing, and it's very, very frightening because there's nothing you can do about it.
Yes.
Seems to be associated with a virus, seems to be associated with respiratory tract infection, and unfortunately, one of the risk factors is pregnancy.
This happened on the 31st night where everybody was celebrating and partying, and I had to be admitted in the hospital. And I did not know till then what it was, so I was taking it very lightly till I started realizing that my eye would not shut, my lips started drooping, so if I would drink water, it would just fall from the other side. And it was quite traumatizing, more than anything, knowing the fact that I was pregnant and we had never heard about it. So whether my baby will get affected, and my gynec, we spoke to her, she said that, you know, you're just 10 days away, you can be on steroids. Now, Bell's palsy is completely 100% you recover from it only if you give him medication on time. And my right medication started after 5 days. It took me 3 months to recover. I had to go through physiotherapy and everything. In between, I had my delivery. I could not deliver normally because my doctor didn't want...
Oh my God, that's very traumatizing.
Yes, my doctor didn't want nerve rupturing or any kind of stress on my face or anywhere in the body. I started slurring slowly. So I had to even drink water with a straw because that would fall off. When I would sleep, my husband had to come and put a tape on my other eye because that would not shut. And morning we would take it off, and my mom was there with me, you know, at my place. So it was very traumatizing for the family. I was not allowed to see the mirror because, you know, being an actor, of course, as a human, it's quite traumatizing, but as an actor also.
Where your face is your asset.
Exactly. So I didn't want anybody to come and see me and the baby. If they would come to see the baby, I would just hide myself inside the room. Didn't want to talk to anybody. Didn't even want my best friends to know what was happening.
Of course.
It was, I had just shut myself. Then that passed. I recovered beautifully thanks to all the doctors who were there for me. when I had my second pregnancy with Ivy, last 15 days I was scared that the attack should not come again, because it does come again. In few cases it has. When we reached the delivery date, I was all excited. We went, I was like, okay, everything went off fine. I went to the OT and delivery happened, everything was fine. But then I started feeling some pain. My baby had to be in the incubator because of a normal certain things, he had little water in the lungs and all that. So Raghav was already stressed about it. I did not let him know that I was going through some pain. So the pain kept increasing and I did not tell him for 2 hours till he noticed that my breathing was getting affected. So my breathing from normal to went to like really very short breaths. And that is when he asked me what's happening, and I told him that there's a major pain here, like a block, and I feel like there's a elastic on my shoulder which is pulling it very hard. The doctor said it can't be, the blood is still leaking, otherwise she would have fainted. Another sonography was done and the blood had clotted. It was a 1 liter Bisleri bottle, big, like as big as that. And the doctor said, thankfully it's clotted, but we don't know how it's happened, because when we are putting you back after the C-sec, there's a pressure that we maintain. If the body pressure is not up to that level, we don't put you back together till then. It was a shock to everybody, because the doctor said that in their entire career, they've never seen a case like this. If the blood had not clotted, if it was still, floating, they might have to open me up. And if they did so, you never know what were my chances of survival. And I think at that time I was trying to be this very strong mother, strong wife, strong daughter who was okay about it, because I think I saw everybody in so much stress of losing me that I wanted to tell them that I'm fine. I had to stay in the hospital for 7 days. By 7th day, I was like so frustrated that I told Raghav, I said I want to go back home. And thankfully that day was fine. But that day was where I broke, because I was like, oh my God, I think I was overwhelmed. I was scared because I was like, I gave birth to my child. I'm so thankful that I'm able to take him back home with me. If, this blood had not clotted, if they had to open me up, if I did not survive, what would happen with my kids? That was my only thought. And I was just crying. And my mom came and she thought something else happened. So my husband just told her, please, sambhalo apni beti ko. She's just been crying. Now, when my doctor came, my questions to her were, will I be able to live a normal life? Will this clot go away? I'm into kickboxing, fitness, and my first question again was like, will I be able to do my activities? If I do kickboxing, if I get a kick on my stomach, will the vessel rupture again? What if it suddenly happens? So there was so much fear at that time. It was only that I didn't want my kids to lose their mother.
Did you then go for any professional help,
Yes.
any medication?
I was on complete bed rest because I could not even move. So I was at my mom's house because, I needed mom that time. Of course, Raghav was there throughout, but he also wanted me to be with my mom because he knew how secure a mother can be for a child.
Thank you for sharing this, because it requires a lot of courage.
Yes.
And it's also therapeutic.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure you're feeling better after talking
I am. There was a point when I decided I will not talk about it, but then I thought, why not,
Some people feel that talking about it is being negative, but I don't feel so. It obviously depends on who you're talking
Absolutely.
to and what kind of reflections coming back.
Absolutely.
It's best to talk to a mental health specialist.
When you're going through something like this, it's so emotionally, physically traumatizing that you don't want other people to take over.
Yeah.
The first thing they'll say is, you don't know what I'm going through, so let me handle the situation. You have to let somebody take over. You have to let your doctors take charge. You have to let your family members, kind of take decisions sometimes for you.
It's our cultural conditioning.
It is.
Because it's important. We need awareness at that base level. Mental health is as or more important than physical health, I would say. On that note, if I didn't share what I was going through or what made me put this mental health chapter together, then I think I would be a hypocrite. And what I'm about to say is going to be a shocker for a lot of people, maybe including my family, because before deciding to say this, I did not even consult them, because I feel as an individual, I have my own journey to make. yes, I know there are consequences. I'm a mother. So without hyping it up any longer, I want to say that I am bipolar and I have an anxiety issue that I'm going through right now. Now, obviously I have doctor, and I wouldn't have said this if I didn't have a doctor with me, because he is the only person who can explain what bipolarity is. Firstly, I want to say there is no reason to be scared, or it's not like I'm going to lift this coffee and throw it on the camera or, because people say, like she said, people use these terms so commonly and so casually. Oh, I'm bipolar. Oh, I have anxiety. I just had a panic attack or whatever, right? It's different. But doctor, could you please define it or tell us a little more?
Okay, so to put it very simply, everybody is aware of depression. You're a little sad, you don't feel like doing things, there is no happiness in life, there is no satisfaction, you tend to sleep too much or you don't sleep at all, you tend to eat too much or you don't eat at all, stuff like that. If you're looking at the other end of the spectrum, you have phases of excitement where you talk too much, you jump around too much, you hardly sleep, maybe you spend too much, you indulge too much in sexual activity. There are issues related to not being able to sleep at all, mood swings which are way out of control and things like that. So when you have this whole spectrum, then we look at it in terms of bipolarity, and there are various classifications, there are various aspects to it. The bottom line is, it is a psychiatric disorder. If it is a psychiatric disorder, seek help, get help, and you're absolutely okay. It should be that just like I have a cold, I'll go to the general practitioner and get something. If I'm feeling, I have a stomach ache, I'll go to a gastroenterologist. If my chest is hurting, I might see a chest physician. If I'm not feeling good, if my mood swings are too much, I'll seek the help of a psychiatrist. What's the big deal? That's what we should be going.
If I'm feeling low and I don't know the difference if I'm just feeling sad or if I'm depressed, I should go to a doctor and let him decide. If I have a runny nose, we go to a doctor and let him decide whether it's a viral infection, bacterial infection, common cold, right? So why should we self-treat ourselves when it comes to mental health issues? Now, how I realized that this was happening. Before Kavish, we were pregnant. We miscarried at 5 months. And it was like everything was absolutely normal and all our marker tests were fine. We had to let go of the baby because of a lot of complications. It had some birth defects, and it was a shocker, and it was like everything happened overnight. We had just come back from the baby moon and we were just in the middle of prepping for the baby to come, because 5 months is pretty late in your pregnancy. We miscarried and all of that happened, and then I didn't process the pain. I didn't give it a closure. I was writing a pregnancy journal during pregnancy, and that pregnancy journal was incomplete because I stopped writing at the 5th month when this happened, because I didn't know what to write and I was not in the mental state to continue the story and give it a sad turn, But then I feel that I should have completed it. Having said that, I felt like taking printouts, putting it in a bottle and throwing it in the sea. When I discussed it with my family, they didn't say it's all right, but they said, you're a strong girl. This whole thing of being strong does not mean that you can't have a weak side. You can always take a step back and take 2 steps ahead. I read that people who've excelled in life, so many of those personalities have been bipolar because they have this insane energy about them that they're able to channelize. So if you have the right medical practitioner, you can make a great thing of your own personality.
I'm so glad that you brought it out, because sometimes what happens is we have celebrities who come and say they were depressed and they went for therapy. Therapy is important, but everything is not related to therapy. There are times when you are going to need something more, and we have to treat it just like you would treat any other kind of medication. It is not something that you get stigmatized about. You were talking in terms of this addiction thing, and I often tell people, supposing you are diabetic, you take your diabetic medication for the rest of your life. Does that mean you're addicted to it? If you have a thyroid dysfunction, you're going to take something for your thyroid for the rest of your life. Does that mean you're addicted to it? But somehow if I say you take this one pill and your quality of life will be better, you won't be depressed, you won't be suicidal, you'll be able to function well, you'll be a different person, then you say, why, I'm addicted. Yeah. We have to change our perspective towards it. Yes, there are certain times when I get angry with people when I've said, take it for 2 months, and unfortunately we still have chemists over here who give it for 2 years, and then they'll come and they'll say, I'm still taking it, what do I do? And I get angry and I say, that was for 2 months, why are you taking it for so long? That's scary, and that happens. But if you're under the supervision of a doctor who knows what he's doing, the question of addiction does not really arise. Another aspect, how long do we take the medication? There are lots of myths associated with it. We'd say for a period of at least a year after stability, 9 months to a year and a half, depending on what the situation is, after stability. Then when we start tapering it off, we don't suddenly abruptly stop. When we start tapering it off, there's a huge number of people who don't seem to need it again. And there is a certain percentage who will need it. So you just continue with it for a period of time. What's the big deal? Let's not make too much out of it. Let's just look at mental health as one of the things that occurs. I have asthma. Nobody looks at me and says, oh, you're the asthmatic doctor who's in a hospital. Nobody should look at you and say, oh, you're that bipolar lady who's on television. What's the big deal? And that's what we should go for. Let's get out of this thing of, if I'm taking medication, there's something wrong with me, I'm a weak person, I should be able to cope with it on my own, let me do yoga, let me do meditation and I'll be fine. It's like saying, if I have a fracture in my hand, I'm not going to send you for yoga, but congratulations. I think you've been a path breaker, a pathfinder for hundreds and thousands of people who were too scared to come out and say what you are saying.
Yes, I think that we need to come out of our closets because it's therapeutic, it's inspiring, it helps other people start their journey. There needs to be that someone who inspired us. It always is, right? Whether we wanted to become actors or doctors, we've always had that one inspiration in our life that led us to that path. Whether it was our dads pushing us to do it, or whether it was another actress on TV whose hair was really flying in a slow motion. There's always an inspiration. Let's lighten up a little bit and play some games. So the first game that we're going to play is nursery rhymes. Are you ready? So I'm gonna say half of it and you have to complete the rest. Everywhere that Mary went,
The lamb was sure to go.
yay! Up above the world so high.
Like a diamond in the sky.
One for my master and one for my dame.
One for the little boy who lives down the lane.
I'm telling you,
I'm
you're
incredible.
a pro. 1, 2,
Buckle my shoe,
3, 4,
shut the door,
5, 6,
pick up sticks,
7, 8,
lay them straight.
9, 10.
A big fat hen.
Oh my
I'm
God.
incredible.
You are fabulous.
I think
That's why you're a doctor. He's the winner.
I'm the winner.
Great. So let's
One
move
more
on.
coffee. Yes.
Moving on to the second round. It's called Homes of Animals. Cows live in a
Cows live in a stable? No. Horses live in a stable. Cows live in a...
You already answered my second question.
Okay.
You go to cows live in a? No. You?
Shed.
Shed.
Ah, yes.
Oh, yes.
Shed.
Oh, yes.
Shed, yes.
You got it.
Fish live in?
Water tank or
Aquarium.
water?
Aquarium.
Dog?
Kennel.
Rabbit?
A burrow.
Lion?
Den?
Bees?
Hive.
And hen?
Coop.
Oh my God,
Wow.
you truly are amazing.
Amazing.
Super. We have come to the end of the episode. Mental health is a space that we need to talk about, and I'm so blessed that all three of you were on the panel today. Thank you, Doctor, for your scientific insights and simplifying such a complicated topic. Thanks, Amita.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Bhavika. Now, a message from Doctor.
Let's start thinking that just like we'd like to be physically okay, we should also be mentally okay. Let's not start, making things frightening, imagining things that are non-existent, and looking down or shaming a person who seeks help or who's talking of the fact that he or she needs some support, some help, some medication. Just like we deserve to be physically okay, India as a superpower will never succeed unless we are also mentally okay, and for that, let's seek help.
Well said. That's so true. Amita, what's your message?
Like for mums, I think we have so much happening in our lives that we need to give some time to ourselves and need to take care of our mental state, because we, with kids, family, house, work, we're already struggling with so much that we kind of tend to forget our mental state and we keep it like in a corner, not realizing that we actually need to take care of that aspect first. Only then we can take care of other people in our family and around us. So do give that much credibility to yourself.
Self-love and self-compassion.
Yes, absolutely. You have to have that self-love to be a happy mother, happy person, happy human, to have everybody around you in a happy state.
Thank you. So Bhavika, what's your message to everybody who's listening to you?
Sticking to the theme Motherhood Chronicles, I would want to say to children of my age to, give space to your parents. Let them be an individual. As you have your own life, they also go through their blue days and good days and bad days. I think we should celebrate their individuality as well. Let them have their personal space. Take care of their mental health as well. There are a lot of kind people in this world. You be kind, you'll find kind people.
Absolutely, that is so well said. And I think it's our generation, including ours and hers, it's our responsibility to take care of the elders and the young ones. If we are that change maker, then I'm sure this world is going to be mentally healthy, which is so important. I would love to present the Motherhood Chronicles Gratitude Trunk to you all as a token of our love. Motherhood is a larger-than-life experience, and mental health is seen as a common obstacle for moms and young children for which professional help is easily available. What we have learned today on staying mentally healthy is don't shy away from getting professional help. Connect with others. Stay physically active. Sleep well. Help others. Mental health needs more sunlight, candor, and more unashamed acceptance. Let's uplift each other physically, emotionally, and mentally. I'll see you again on a new episode with a new topic and a new panel. Until then, this is Nisha Rawal signing off. Happy Motherhood Chronicles to you.